strategy of regime change led by the U.S. government. Let's look at this chronology for a second. January 10th, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweets calling the election of Maduro an illegitimate usurpation of power and calling for what Pompeo called, quote, a return to democracy. The very next day, January 11th, Guaido made his announcement calling for his support in his coup attempt. The day after that, the U.S. State Department issued an official statement that, quote, it's time to begin the orderly transition to a new government in Venezuela. But we have seen these orderly transitions before in Haiti, Iraq, Iran, Cuba, the DPRK, Chile, Lebanon, Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nicaragua, and plenty of other places. We know that this is most likely a preface to more intervention and more violence, and we've seen this exact same strategy of propping up a puppet parallel government as a prelude to escalated intervention before. We saw it with the National Transitional Council in Libya. If you want to learn more about our organization, our efforts against the Strategic Response Group, or ways that you can join the Committee to Stop FBI Repression, please reach out to any of me, Jessica, or Michaela. Thank you again. U.S. imperialist! U.S. imperialist!
Number one terrorist!
U.S. imperialist!
Number one terrorist!
U.S. imperialist!
Number one terrorist!
Thank you!
Alright, we're going to use this one that I just learned at a rally a couple nights ago. It was perfect. Again, in Spanish. Maduro! Maduro! Agency, dale duro!
In May of 2018, with 67% of the vote and with 6.4 million votes that Venezuelans voted for their president, Nicolas Maduro, for the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. This administration and the Lima cartel, who say otherwise, and decided to anoint the right-wing opposition leader, Juan Guaido, as interim president. What right gives the United States administration of Donald Trump or this Lima cartel or its puppet states to the empire that 6.4 million Venezuelan votes don't matter for their president, that their vote doesn't count? Should we tell Donald Trump that he didn't win the popular vote?
Yeah.
As much as I resent this corporate war party called the Democrats, maybe Nancy Pelosi should be the president of the United States because Donald Trump didn't win the popular vote. Or maybe Chuck Schumer should proclaim himself as president of the United States because he did not win the popular vote, Donald Trump. I'm here with you all because we're here to tell this administration and the Lima cartel, hands off Venezuela and Latin America. They will no longer be a colony to the United States anymore. We are in the 21st century where colonialism has no place in this world today. We aren't in the 17th century, the 18th century, the 19th, or even the 20th century, where we caused thousands of deaths across Latin America. Colonialism and imperialism has no place in this world today, especially in Latin America. Have we not learned from the lies of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, where there's open slave trading in the 21st century in Libya today because of the same policies of regime change? Or how about Syria, where they tried to put in regime change but they failed because they were a sovereign nation and they had allies that recognized that sovereignty and they came to their assistance. And they failed in Syria, just like they will fail in Venezuela. Have we not learned from the lies that we have been told that nations need freedom and democracy? That we need to bomb a nation or incite a civil war to start? Do the American people not remember the death and destruction that these regime change wars for coup d'etats across the world have caused? Corporate interests. That's what these deaths have caused, have been for. This regime change has been caused for corporate interest. Corporate interest that now wants to take the natural resources that Venezuela is rich in. All these resources that Venezuela is rich in is what this was about. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time. Take your time.
Washington now, though, seems so dead straight on their regime change in Venezuela for their natural resources. As of yesterday, on Friday, Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State of the state, on Friday appointed Elliot Abrams to help the Venezuelan people to fully restore democracy and freedom.
Shame. Shameful.
Now, Abrams is expected to coordinate all diplomatic efforts to replace President Maduro with the self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido, recognized by the U.S., the Organization of American States, and some EU members. Now we have to ask ourselves, if we do not know, who is Elliot Abrams? Elliot Abrams is notorious for the central role in the Iran-Contra wars in Nicaragua and in El Salvador in the 1980s. This man leading the way to restore democracy and freedom in Venezuela backed death squads across Latin America that murdered thousands for right-wing dictators. He lied to Congress to cover up the
President who lost by 3 million votes? But somehow this is a legitimate government? The opposition and Lima Group's leaders are the fascists and gusanos of the United States. It is not unconstitutional to make the Venezuelan election earlier. It cannot be past January 10th. The Venezuelan opposition in the first place was the one who asked for the election to be earlier, and then it was moved a month later when they were complaining that it was too early. In the May 2018 election, 16 parties participated in the elections, and only one of them is the PSUV. 6 people ran for president in Venezuela, and of those votes, Maduro still won 2/3 of that. The electoral process in Venezuela was observed by over 150 international observers and 18 international journalists. The Smartomatic machines in which they use to record these votes are 100% audible at every stage, and no evidence of fraud has been detected. It's always the fascist Venezuela who's got shopping bags and nice coats who say they're